When I've done some of my coaching and it's been values-based leadership stuff, typically they come in for one purpose and I'm like, that's not, you've got this part wrong. Let's dive deep into this stuff. But by diving deep into it, it's almost like they start to treat me like a therapist, and I have to stop them and be like, just so we're very clear, not a therapist, no training in therapy, no anything in therapy. I'm helping you find the values, so I'm glad you're unearthing these things. But sometimes they get into some really, and at that point they just need someone to talk to and want to release some of it and maybe get a little bit of a different perspective. Are you a therapist? Do you have therapy, anything? Or is it, but I can imagine you dive into some of the places where people are like, they almost treat you like that. Is that resonating? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, therapy is such a human experience. It's not a soul experience, right? It's only something that's found in our human existence. And so with my background being in the psych ward, prior to that, I was labeled as the depressed kid and anxious. So I spent a lot of time in therapy at a young age, and they didn't do anything. Like, I was still in a place of wanting to kill myself. So I started to see the dysfunction in that industry and therapy and kind of what they were learning teaching wise. And so I've always made a decision to, and I tell people openly, I'm not a trained therapist as per society, but I've been through that experience enough to know kind of what they were trying to do, but it's also a place of suppression and keeping people stuck in that industry. And that's kind of the human experience, right?
Yeah.
But I ground myself that I'm not a therapist. I don't ever present myself that way. I don't think that way. Therefore, when people come into my world, they very rarely pick up on that vibration. So the therapy conversation doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
I'm just a person here who is able to help you see something that maybe you can't see from a higher perspective. And because it resonates and I can, there's no therapy in it because it's not a human transaction.
Which is what therapy is supposed to be. Right?
It's a business. It's a business to keep you there. Making money is what it is. That's all that it is to keep you in your problem cycle and not actually ascending you beyond it.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I do experience a lot.
And it's underfunded at that in this country in particular, even too. I spoke with somebody yesterday who reached out to me because I shared something online, and I didn't know this, but she suffers from anxiety and a lot of childhood trauma and that type of thing. But she said that she took a leap and thought that she'd post on my post, right? What we might do every single day. It was like a huge thing for her.
Oh.
But she was telling me that she actually submitted her name to receive support from a, therapy perspective. And it took 1.5 years in this world for her to actually get a call back. She got a call back the other day. And she's like, this is what's wrong with this damn world right now, like
they're even bad at making money.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There's someone who can pay me for something.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not here for that.
Sorry, I have something in my eye.
Yeah.
Actually, the most feedback I receive from people I work with is, you've helped me more than my psychiatrist or my counselor in 9 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
Because it's just a completely different, like, I'm not talking to your human, I'm talking to your soul. And that's not what any of these people are educated in, right?
Right.
Like, the aspect of consciousness is so suppressed in that industry.
And did you pick up most of this from, I don't want to say I don't know enough about Buddhism to say it, but from, I guess, just exploring the spiritual world? Is it just, I guess, where'd the knowledge come from? If I can ask that,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have television growing up, so I didn't have that behavior when I moved into my 20s. So I spent a lot of time reading books. I spent a lot of time asking questions, reading blogs. And what happens when you start to look into these other aspects of information, as you start to retain the information, you actually kind of find yourself unlocking higher aspects of that information to naturally kind of channel towards you. Like, sometimes people ask me a question and I'll give them an answer, and I'll even be like, where did that come from? Like, and they're like, that's exactly what I needed. But they're like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And I'm like, okay, I had no idea that was in me, but now I know how it works, because it's energy and it's dimensions and it's access to wisdom is what it is.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed that clip and you want to watch the full unedited episode, go ahead and click over here. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me. Thanks so much.